Thank you, Yankel. Shavua Tov. Gute Woche. Thank you. So, we've begun the second week of Shovavim, which are very special days. Shuvu Bonim Shovavim. Each one of these weeks are getting stronger and stronger. So take advantage, my friends, of the tshuva opportunity. Tshuva is not meant to embitter your life. It's meant to make it beautiful and sweet. Because when you're coming back to Hashem, when you're coming close to God, that's a very sweet and beautiful thing. So tshuva is this amazing opportunity. So use these days wisely. It's a very good time to daven for your ability to learn Torah. Daven during these days that I want Hashem to learn Torah, to ask Hashem, I want to learn, and I want to learn straight, long periods of time without getting distracted. Let me have the Sitzfleisch. Let me have the ability to sit and just learn without having this thing ring in my pocket and this thing, the getchkelas. To be careful of that. To really focus in on an experience. Learning is supposed to be the most unbelievably meditative experience. But you have to allow it. You have to allow the learning to be without distraction. When you do that, you lose yourself, which really means you find yourself. You find this beautiful world. And you want to keep that going as long as possible. You want to learn for long stretches of time. So Rabbi Tzimaier suggests to try to have a few 5-hour sedarim, at least. A good 5-hour seders. No getchkala, no nothing, no talking, just learning. Talking and learning. Just learning 5 hours straight. So you can do that easily at night. You can do that easily on Fridays. You can do that easily on Motzi Shabbos.
Thursday nights.
On Thursday nights, easily. And you don't even have to stay up the whole night. Easily. And you have dinner, daven Ma'ariv, right away. Start learning, let's say 7, and then just go right till midnight. That's it. So, there's so many opportunities to do that. Why don't many people do it? It's 2 very important words. An old friend of yours, and mine also, and all of us. The Yetzer Hara. Yes, Yanko.
If somebody's trying to learn straight, whatever, and there's a lot of people around trying to get their attention or this thing, or how does one tell somebody, hey, I'm learning right now, I'm in the middle of something, but that's you already pulled away. I thought it's already
No, it doesn't have to be. It depends. They're trying to take you out of learning, or they're trying to they're speaking in the sugya, or no?
Why not in the sugya? No.
Not in the sugya. So if it's not in the sugya, and they're not close enough friends to you, where you can just say and they'll maybe be offended, and they're not close enough to you that you can have a little sign that's just I'm in the middle of uninterrupted learning time. Love you, bro. Love to get coffee sometime.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you for understanding that I'm trying to have. There's a total.
On the back of your Gemara.
Immersive experience just in learning for the next 5 hours. You're amazing. With all my blessing, Yankel. Something like that. So it's like, hold on. He's reading it. I said, oh, that's nice. Okay. Yeah. Shkoya. Sorry, Shkoya. If you could do that, that's great. But let's say you can't. All those things, we tried everything. So then sometimes you could make for yourself a time to go down to the kotel and just go into a corner. But don't do that as life. Do that as an exception. It's better to be in your base medrash and learning in your base medrash. But sometimes you can go.
Far left corner. Far.
Yeah, fine. You can, go into that little nook over there. Because it's very, very chashuv just to have time that you're just in the sugya. Or to say Tehillim, to try to finish all of Sefer Tehillim. Just sit down and just keep saying Tehillim until you finish it. Depends how fast you read Hebrew, but 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, depending on how fast you read. Some people I know 2 hours of finishing Tehillim. So think about it, like how, do you know the blessing you bring to the world by reading the whole of Sefer Tehillim in one sitting? It's unbelievable. Especially on the Erev Shabbos, by the way. At the Kaisel. So use these opportunities.
Especially on Erev Shabbos.
That's what the Sfarim say. There's this big, big light that's coming down on Erev Shabbos you can grab a hold of. So either I could have just been like hanging in my dorm, doing like, whatever, or you have to start carving out proactively strong experiences. Yeah.
Say you've got your situation, like you've got a room, you've got no distractions, you put the phone away, you told people don't touch me, I'm busy, I'm studying. But how do you get the mind and stay? Because sometimes even just you're reading a book and you're like, oh, how many chapters am I in? Oh, so many pages to go. Or how much time has gone by? Oh, 4.5 hours to go. Just the voices in your head just keep going.
So the monkey brain has to be. He needs to build his muscles. This is something called das. Das is destroyed by pop-ups on your phone. Destroyed. Because every time something comes up, you're just like, I better check that. Need to check something. And one of my classic things, I like to provide this service to people, is I'll say, give me your phone for a night. I'm just going to keep it by me, or I'll just lock it up somewhere here in the yeshiva. And I give it back to the guy the next day. And he looks and he turns the thing on, 4,000 missed things. So he's got to catch up on all of his, missed stuff. He starts scrolling through all of his missed things. So it's like, so how many were really, really important? He's like, actually nothing here. It's like LOL, There's nothing. So I say, does that mean that 4,000 times over the last 24 hours, you could have avoided distraction if you would do this again today? It's like, yeah, literally, I needed none of this. Which means that the day before, 4,000 times, your das was broken. So there's no wonder that it's hard for us to keep our mind focused on something for a prolonged period of time. We're so used to just not. So you have to just train it, just build the muscles of focus. So that's one of the ways, is yes. When you go to the gym, it hurts a bit, right? Otherwise, it's not working. I don't mean hurt like injure, God forbid, but you understand, if there's no pain, there's no gain. There needs to be a pain. There needs to be a pump in order for there to be gains. And that's what we want. So we want the same thing with spiritual gains, with being able to focus, and das works that way. So the first thing is try it. Set yourself up situations where you're going to succeed. Give yourself, okay, I'm going to do this period of time. If you make a chevrusa, it'll help you also, because you keep the other guy into it. It'll be more interesting and more engaging. Keep the chevrusa involved. And just start to try to give yourself and carve out uninterrupted learning times. It's a big part of Shovavim. Major part. So we're going to finish the chapter now. The idea we're talking about is that all thought, the precursor of thought, the precursor of way before thought, are the powers of your soul. The powers of your soul made up of Chochmah and Bina Das, which is the initial download of information before you even are thinking. Bina is the kind of breaking it down, but you're not really thinking about it yet. You're just it's breaking down. Das is now there's a feeling of this is going to become emotionally relevant to me. And then it comes into the two midos, the main midos of Ava, I'm interested in this idea, or Yira, I'm recoiling from this idea. If the answer is Ava, then I move towards it. That's when thought happens. How do I get this thing I'm into? That's where thought originates. It originates in the process of acquiring things of interest or removing oneself from things that of disinterest. At that point, then there's thought. Thought is happening in letters. And then there's speech. That's the articulation of what's happening in your mind, which is coming from the things that you're feeling and wanting, which is coming from your Chachma Min Das. And ultimately your Chachma, very, very high place, connected to will, connected to the deepest yearnings of your soul. What we're talking about now is look inside. The kol machshava sheba'olam melubeshes ba eize mida hamevi lichshayiv machshava zu, umida zu hi chiyusa shel machshava zu. And every thought that you have is being cloaked with the energy of the feeling of your soul of I want that thing. So the feeling of your soul is inside the thought, fueling the Hebrew letters. Ume'oisias hamachshava and then the letters of thought then fuel speech. One of the ways to find out what a guy thinks about or a girl thinks about is very simple. You want to know? Just talk to them. Or listen to what they're talking about. Your dibur is a reflection of what's going on up here. That's why you really can reveal this a lot about a person. And even if a person tries to hide what he's really thinking about, just talk to them long enough. Stuff comes out. The stuff that's in the head will come out. You can't hide it. So be careful what you're thinking about, because it will come out. It's a very sobering thing. It's like, oh my goodness, really? Like, they're going to catch me? It will come out. Because what you talk about is drawing from your machshava. So let's go through the sequence. The soul power that was generating will for something, that was generating the thoughts, that soul power is inside the thoughts. Inside the speech is then the soul power of your soul pushing you to want something, creating the letters of thought, then translating to the letters of speech. Inside there, fueling the speech, giving energy to speech. Energy to speech fuels very strongly the energy of action. So a very powerful means of actualizing and doing things. Speak about them. Speak about them, you'll start creating things. When you speak, you start fashioning and creating, and it will bring you to more action. It's a very powerful thing that you should do, is to speak and manifest and speak holy language about good and positive things. Yes, Eliyahu.
And I find that if I, and maybe you can give some clarity on why this happens, maybe it's just a me thing, but let's say I'm like davening really well lately. I've been having like the most amazing davenings for like however long, and then I start talking about it to people, those davenings will stop happening. It's almost like I'm taking that energy and I'm putting it into pleasure that I'm gaining from talking about it. And
we never said you had to talk to other people. I said you're just talking. Your speech generates reality whether someone's there listening or not. Talk to God about it. Speech is very powerful. Very powerful. Just by yourself. As far as that idea of, yes, sometimes if the speech is so sensitive and is so raw, the ideas are so raw, they're so, like someone's, let's say, dating a girl, and it's like starting to come together, but everything is like very sensitive. You don't like run into the door and say, boys, Guys, it's happening. Bad call. Bad move. You didn't hang out with Rabbi Hirschman enough. You didn't get the appropriate eitzes that you needed. You keep things very private. Very private. And then they'll come out, slowly. These things have to be concealed. And if they're just like splurted out before it's the time, they can be taken, God forbid, by the dark side. They're like trying to grab on to that energy. I want to be very careful just how you speak, who you speak to. Keep things sanua. It's a very interesting thing that we have such a concept that a person doesn't discuss that they're having a baby for the first 3 months. Meaning, let's say someone's wife is pregnant. There's a Jewish concept that they don't just go and discuss. I know people do this. I'll just say it's not the most Jewish thing to do. They have like revealing parties. Where they say like, well, it's going to be a boy, which means they're not only telling you if it's a boy or a girl, they're telling you that we're having a baby. And you cut a cake and the inside is either a blue one or a pink one. There's such a thing. It's not our way to do that. But what's that? Very Goyish. Yeah, it's not the greatest thing. One of the ways that we kind of hint to this is that for the first 3 months, a woman is not even showing. It's kind of hidden. Hashem is keeping it hidden. After 3 months, it's like, especially longer than that, you kind of can't, hide it. It just gets to be physiologically not possible. And unless, that's a crazy new wardrobe. You're walking around in like a box, a cardboard box where nobody could see anything. Okay? We don't do that. People have normal, nice, modest, beautiful clothing. So there's an element where at a certain point it becomes clear to other people what's happening. But the idea of just like, let me tell the whole world, that's not so much the way, especially because the beginning, everything is very, the child is like this big. It's very much in the beginning stages. And it's very sensitive. It's like if you plant a tree, so the sprout is very fragile, gentle. You have to be very careful. It's vulnerable. You don't just let anybody, come around. You protect it. Let's nurture it. So some ideas also, when you have like sometimes in ideas of a vision, or you're thinking about an idea for a project, be careful who you bring into the idea sphere, because sometimes you have to just like develop the idea a little bit before just sharing it with everybody. It's very, very big yesod, okay? But know that the energy of the idea is coming from the energy of the soul, and the energy of the soul going into the idea, and the energy of the idea is going into the speech, and the energy of the speech is going to drive action. V'hein chiyusan mamish. V'hadibur maybe lidei ma'isa hatzedakah v'chesed, and then the speech will drive. I will give charity. Starts driving you towards actions of charity. Kagoin. Now here he gives an interesting example. Kagoin hamelech shemitzav la'avod of litain. Somebody comes up to the king, and they say, "King, can we have some money?" And the servant of the king is standing, the minister of the king is standing there, and he's holding on to some treasures of the king. So the king just says, "Give him the golden goblet." So what do you think the servant does? Gives the goblet. So it's interesting, because here the Rebbe is saying it, if you're attached enough to who you are, when your body thinks something, and then says something, you could, as if to say, command your body to do things. You're the king over your body. If you tell your body, wake up now. So the body doesn't have to be just like, nah, snooze. Who are you, king? So that's because the guy's a putz. But if he appreciates the power of soul going into the powers of thought, going into the power of speech, that you could command, like a king telling a servant, provide the goblet to the one in need, and the servant just immediately gives the goblet. You can tell your body to do things. Gam kesha'odam oise ba'atzma eze davar, hare koyach hanefesh v'chiyusa, hamislabesh ba'asiyah zu, hu ke'ein mamish lagabe koyach hanefesh v'chiyusa, hamislabesh b'dibura odam, ke'erach mashal aguf l'neshama. Okay, this chapter ends with a very important idea of appreciating the unity of God. Compared to the action, how much more powerful is the ability of speech? Action is just one limited thing. I gave the tzedakah. Your ability to command your body is unlimited. You have unlimited things that you could say. There's unlimited things that you could express. So not just speech, the ability to speak is like unlimited compared to the finiteness of a single action, right? There's this action, so compared to an action, there's unlimited ability of speech, okay? So follow me here. But compared to the ability of thinking, how much could you think about? The ability of thinking is also more sublime than speech. Speech is coming into more finiteness. Not just the thought of what I'm going to talk about, but the unlimited ability to think about anything. So how much more unlimited, and so to speak, infinite, is that than any given speech? Or even the ability to speak. It's beyond. And then how much more unlimited and infinite is the ability of the feelings of things I want? It eclipses all of thought. Because that's where thought's coming from. That's generating the energy of thought. And then how much is the chachmin das, which are generating the feeling states of things you want? So within a human being, there are more infinite places within you that any given action is like nothing in comparison. So we're going to use this as another analogy of understanding that creation is nothing compared to Hashem. Because the ability of Hashem to speak, Hashem could speak infiniteness. So compared to an actual creation, it's like nothing compared to God's ability to speak and create. And then God's ability to think. The infiniteness of God's thoughts. So what's creation in comparison to the infinite? It dissolves in a bucket of infinite thought potential of God. And then moving through the midas, going all the way up to Chachma of Hashem, which is the undiluted, infinite ability of bringing anything and everything into creation. And that's low on the scale of what God could do. God goes way above Chachma. So in comparison to God, the world is like nothing. Finishing the chapter. V'chein erech oisias hadibur lo oisias hamachshava, v'chein erech oisias hamachshava lemahus hamida hamelubeshes ba mechaya oisa, v'chein erech mahus v'chiyas hamida legabi hachach mida v'das. This is what we just spoke out. Sheklalusen hu aseichel shememenu nimshach hamida zu v'chol ze benefesh ha'adam. This is in us. V'nefesh kol ha'beruim shebekol ha'ilamis elyonim v'sachtoinim shebekulam chachma hi reishis u'makor achiyas. All of this is in creation, where we begin the journey from Chachma. But with God, God goes way above Chachma. Above, not in a spaceship. Conceptually, in more infinite levels, or let's call it less finite levels of creation, less finite levels of God essence. So to appreciate that all of this within God is nothing. God is amazingly huge, and He loves humanity. He created us in His image, and He wants us to draw close to Him. And therefore, don't get lost in the sauce. Don't get lost in the distractions of this world. Grab a hold of the ways that will bring you close to God in this world and all eternity. We should be zoich to this. Amen. Shavua Tov, my friends. Have a wonderful day. Kol Tov.